Chapter 2. What do you mean, ghosts? I cried out. Your entire house is packed with animal ghosts? And this truck too? And you let me come here? Why would you do that? Why didn't you tell me? Uncle Bob and Brad burst out laughing. Just had a laugh at your expense, I'm afraid, Uncle Bob admitted. We're just teasing you, Winston. There are no ghosts at our house, or in this truck. No animal ghost or ghost of any other kind. No. But there could be, Brad laughed. Maybe we'll have our first ghost while you're visiting. So what was that sound? I asked. Just a loose connection under the truck. It makes our muffler bang against the metal truck bed sometimes, Brad said, holding his sides from laughing so hard. You stink, I said to Brad, but I was laughing too. I had to admit it was a pretty good joke. Gotcha, geekhead, he shouted with a laugh, then he punched me in the arm. Even though I am a bit nerdy, I punched Brad back in his arm. We both laughed over how scared I'd become of the animal ghosts. I don't usually play rough with other kids. When I'm not on my computer, I prefer to read, or talk with friends, maybe play on the swings at the park. I try to fit in with everyone in school as best as I can, but I'm definitely not a jock. But I always feel comfortable when I'm with Brad. We like to roughhouse together, and he can get away with calling me names like geekhead because I know he's kidding. Brad might even be my best friend, even though he's my cousin and lives so far from me. We're both almost the same age. I'm 12 and Brad is just a few months older. And we talk often on the phone and spend lots of time together in Chicago during all the big holidays. Brad's more of a jock type, I guess. He's big and athletic, with lots of muscles and blonde hair and blue eyes. He's always the best at every sport he tries, just like I'm always the best in a computer. So I was really surprised when we finally got to Brad's farmhouse, because there on a desk in his room was a gleaming new computer. Pentium with 16 RAM and CD-ROM and a 28.8 modem. and a whole pile of computer games. Excellent, I shouted. I want to surprise you. Pretty cool, huh? Brad said proudly. Wow, I didn't know farms could even have a computer. Man, this is totally cool, I said, looking over the computer. This thing has got everything on it, Brad. It's loaded. Most farms have computers these days, Winston. Dad's had his own computer for years to keep track of the milk he sells and the animals we slaughter for food and everything. Brad explained. But we just got this one for me a week ago. I talked Dad into getting it early because you were coming, and he bought all these awesome games. Just too cool! Now we can have all kinds of fun, I said. We were going to put the new computer in the room across the hall. That's why you'll be staying. We decided that wasn't such a good idea, Brad said slowly. It was as though he didn't want to tell me about something. I guess you'd rather have it in your own room anyway, huh? I asked, hoping that was the only reason it wasn't a good idea. I could see by Brad's expression that something was wrong. No, really I'd rather have the computer somewhere else, but Dad didn't want me to spend so much time in the guest room, at least not all alone, Brad said. Why, what's wrong with the guest room? I said to Brad. I was getting worried now. Nothing. Not really, I guess, Brad said. It's just that it can get kind of scary over there, especially if you have to be in there alone for a very long time. Won't I be sleeping alone in there? I asked, fear seeping into my voice. It's the only room we have to put you in. Winston, I'm sorry. I don't have another bed in my room, Brad explained, avoiding my eyes. He looked scared. If you're trying to scare me again, you jockhead, I said. Then I admitted the truth. If you're trying to scare me, you're doing a really good job. There's no reason to be scared, Winston. Not really, Brad said worriedly. What's wrong with that room? I almost shouted. I was sweating so much my heavy black glasses almost slid off my nose. It's just that the last person to spend a night in there alone was murdered. Slaughtered with an axe in his sleep. He was hacked to death on the neck, just like we killed the chickens, Brad said, his voice shaking with fear. Chapter 3. What? Hacked to death? I yelled at the top of my lungs. Yeah, it was awful. Blood everywhere, Brad explained sadly. It happened right before we bought this house, and no one has slept in there alone since then. Until tonight. Who did it? I demanded. Nobody knows, but the state police think that it's a crazy man who lives out in the woods just past our pasture. He's all hairy and smelly. He's like some kind of animal. And I think he has something against anyone who tries to sleep in that room, Brad said. Maybe I could sleep in your room, Brad, or in the living room. I don't care. Any place is better than the death room, I said quickly. The death room! Yeah, that's what we call it. And you have to sleep in there tonight. And every night for 2 weeks. Alone, Brad said. But why? Why? I don't understand. It's so dangerous. Why? I stammered. Oh, because all scaredy cat geekheads who come to our farm have to sleep in there until they stop believing stupid stories, Brad laughed. He almost fell on the floor from laughing now, holding his stomach and bending over as if this were the funniest joke in the world. Ha 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 ha, I said, but I wasn't laughing. You think you're so funny. Sure, pick on the city kid who doesn't know any better. I've never been in this country in my life. I've never been in the country in my life. How do I know what happens on these farms? It could be ghosts or murders or anything, you stupid jockhead. I'm sorry, Winston. I didn't mean to be so nasty to you. You're my favourite cousin, Brad said, still laughing. But you know how I like to kid you. I can't help it. And when you're so new to everything around here, it's just too much fun to pass up. Yeah, well, don't keep doing it, alright? I've had enough to scare me for one day, I said. I probably was feeling a little too sorry for myself right then, so to make us feel both better, I tried Brad's trick. I punched him in the arm. For a geek, I punched pretty hard. Ow, Brad said, wincing with pain. You nerd. And he chased me from the bedroom into the living room, down the stairs to the dark, damp basement, and back up. Then I ran into the guest room where I was staying. The deaf room. Now you die! Die in the deaf room, Winston, Brad shouted. But he was smiling. With his fist clenched to hit my arm, Brad lunged at me in one great leap. For once I was quicker though and moved aside in time. Brad flew through the air like a guided missile shot from some powerful fighter jet. He completely missed me. With his arms flailing wildly, he soared right over the bed and hit the wall with his head. Brad crumpled to the ground unconscious. Brad! I screamed. I knew he was knocked out cold. But I couldn't tell if he was breathing. If he was even alive. Maybe this was the deaf room. Ooh.